Hey guys, it's Remmy. Welcome to the recovering section of a series I like to call Offstage Intricacies. I want to focus on offstage play in these, and this one will focus primarily on the many versions of recovering and what to look at when you recover. Hope you guys enjoy. So playing offstage in Brawlhalla has a lot of intricacies and can be very complicated. I've decided to take it upon myself, being me that I am, to try and help you guys improve by making a series of small guides reminiscent of the dodge guide that I made before. Recovering versus edgeguarding is an infinite game of rock, paper, scissors, but this one in specific will focus on solely the recovering part. We're going to look at how to recover and all the options you want to consider when you do recover. Recovering isn't something simple. You have to make quick decisions and realize options in a split second, or you could completely lose your stop. Since Brawlhalla is a platform fighter, there's no one way or option you will find yourself using consistently. There's so much room and you may go any distance from the stage. So let's start with the basics. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at here is jump count. And I can't stress it enough how important it is that you count your jumps when you're recovering, right? So you should know by now that you have 2 aerial jumps, and that doesn't count the one you use to get off the ground, obviously. So if you're already in the air, let's say we use that sig, then we get 2 jumps and we don't do anything with that. Alright, that's basic knowledge. Okay, so you have to be aware that if someone knocks you off the stage, let me switch to Petrobot here and just knock Adabot off the stage and go back to her. You see I only get 2 jumps because I was hit off and I didn't use my first one. So you only get 3 from the ground and from the wall, obviously. So yeah, that's how jumps work. You already knew that though, and this is important just because you need to count your jumps. There's stuff like jump mod and stuff like that can help you count your jumps. They're banned in tournament, obviously, but you can use them for practice and to be more aware about how you use that stuff. So obviously, if you're also aware, getting hit gives you a jump back. There's no real way for me to test this here in training mode, but just remember that if you're running out of jumps and have none left and they hit you, you'll actually get a jump return to you. And yeah. The next thing you want to focus on are wall touches. So right here, we're on the wall, right? I think it's like 9 and then 12 and then 15 wall touches before wall slip takes you out, right? But that shouldn't really happen. And yeah, I hope you're not wall slipping in your games, that'd be very sad. But the thing you want to look at with wall touches is you need to remember that it only takes you 1 frame to get your jumps back. So that means you can do stuff like this where you just touch the wall and then get off immediately. You never actually need to do anything on the wall. So you touch it, get off. Touch it, get off, get your jumps back, okay? This gives you extreme mobility so that when someone is ground pounding the wall, you can time yourself to touch it for 1 frame and then get off the wall. Make sure you're actually touching the wall. As you saw there, I almost died, right? Because I didn't actually touch the wall and I got off before touching it. But as you saw there, for another time, I got on it and I was off it almost instantly, right? So like, let's see how long I was actually touching this wall. So this is the touch, and then I'm off it in the next frame. You just touch it and then you jump off. Obviously, you won't be all the way off of it, but you only need to be on the wall for 1 frame to get yourself back. It's really fast, and yeah. Remember that a lot of animations may look like you're touching the wall. If I can find a character to show that with, I think Sword is a good one. There's a lot of animations where it looks like you're touching the wall, but you don't actually, and it's going to be hard here to show. I think I can probably get it though. So, why am I perma wall slip? Alright, there. I think I've touched the wall too many times. It's going to give me a cooldown on wall slip, but yeah. There's animations that look really close to a wall touch, but they're not actually a wall touch, and those can mess you up because they end up with you touching the wall and then you didn't actually mean to do that, so now you're kind of in a bad spot or a worse spot than you would have thought because you didn't actually fully touch the wall. So you want to avoid things like that, and that will really help you. That doesn't happen all that much because most people can usually get their wall touched off, but I know a couple of top players that complained about how animations end up with them looking like they touched the wall and then they don't. So alright, so recoveries. This is your recovery, obviously. Each weapon has its own recovery. Some do different things, like Spears is very wide and has no hitbox in the middle, so they can stuff you up from the center, but you have priority on both sides, and that's really good for you. Guns obviously have this very cool horizontal movement, and if you didn't know by now, you can use your jumps to become exhausted recoveries. So if you remember, you have 2 jumps, and that means you have 2 extra recoveries than you had. They will both be shorter than your normal recovery, and I'm pretty sure most people know this by now. It's up to you to like find out how you want to use this and practice using this. I know Bloomy, for example, really likes to use his recovery and then use this one to get back to stage, because it gives you, I need to die anyway, reset my wall slip, but it gives you a lot of room to get back with, and I will show you what it looks like again. I will show you what it actually looks like. So you use your first recovery like this, and then you're able to use your second one to move horizontally towards the stage, kind of like gauntlets do with their Sair, and then you don't actually have to commit to going up or down very high, and that's really good for you. Alright, so dodge. Now, if you check out the dodge guide, you know all the specifics about dodge and stuff like that, and I'll leave a link to the dodge guide in the description, but for all purposes here, we're just going to focus on the small use of dodge when you're recovering. Obviously, you use dodge to dodge through stuff, and I would recommend, because of the dodge cooldown, which you should know from the beginning, that you, for the most part, do not recovery first. You dodge first. You do dodge very early on. This way you can get through any weapon throws. You can kind of save it for weapon throws if you need, but if you dodge before you do anything else, you can kind of get through any weapon throws and then still have your dodge back. Oops, not like that. You can still have your dodge back to make it towards the stage towards the end, and that's what most people like to do. They like to instantly do the dodge so that they can have it back by the time they want to touch the wall, or if they can get off the wall and then have their dodge back. And I think that's the best thing you can do in that situation. But yeah, a quick thing to note is that if you dodge into the wall, your dodge ends every single time. So it doesn't matter from where it is you see there, your dodge will end when you touch the wall. Even from right next to it, if you dodge into the wall, your dodge ends. So that's just a little thing that you need to pay attention to as you play the game, and realize that you can't just dodge the wall. If someone is ground pounding the wall and you dodge into it, your dodge will end and you will get hit by the ground pound. So you really want to work on touching it for that one frame without wasting your dodge and without going, and then you can move back and then push up bomb, and that'd be best for you. Alright, so those are just the basic stuff you need to know about dodge, and we'll come back and look at some other stuff and continue with the commentary. As I've already stated, the Brawlhalla map is big. When taking the quick second to plan your recovery, look around at the options the map has given you. For example, Blackguard, although no longer legal, had a moving platform. Depending on where this was or would be, you would design your recovery around that. These things apply to still platforms like Enigma and Great Hall too. Mammoth and Apocalypse, which move to different sides, you will also pay attention to. Your surroundings matter. Platforms allow for a quick way for you to reset your dodge without needing to touch the ground or get too close to your opponent. Okay, so now that we have the basics out of the way, I want to look at the main 3 types of recovering you're going to do and run into in your game. And I like to call these recovering high, recovering low, and recovering even, or recovering mid. And I'm going to use the Mirage bot here to show you how to do each one and the benefits or cons to each one also. And I'm just going to go right into it. So we're going to look at recovering mid here. Okay, so if I pause the bot, you can see that that side sig didn't send it low at all, and a lot of sigs don't send low. So she still has all her options and everything like that, and I'm going to take over here and just show you a straightforward recovery where you don't go higher or lower than you were. That entire thing, I stay about the same height level, and yeah, that's just what recovering mid looks like. You don't want to go too low, and you don't want to go too high. The recovering from the middle is kind of weird because you're only really able to land on the ground where this pumpkin is, like straightforward, or the higher edge of the wall, and it kind of leaves you open. Like if this Mirage were to continue onto the stage like this really easily, I would be able to downsig it. Just downsig on Koji, or a lot of characters have sigs that can cover this area, and it kind of leaves you open to a lot of stuff. It doesn't make it the worst because there's just like, that's the way to beat it. There's a way to beat all the recoveries, right? Like if you were to go low, there would also be a way to beat that. But yeah, that's what recovering middle looks like. It's like an average recovery. I feel like it's really contestable also. So like here, someone could easily walk up to you and start looking at options like Sarah or Dare right above you. It's just a very straightforward, but I find weak recovery personally. And now I want to look at what it looks like to send someone low and recover from that low point. And the thing with recovering mid, I'm gonna point out also, is that while you're recovering mid, you can also switch it up into both recovering high and recovering low. And what I mean by that is, you saw how I used most of my jumps to stay even as I made it back to stage. You could also use those jumps to go higher up onto the map and land. And as you saw there, that was an example of me using a platform to use recovery. I dodged up and everything, and I only had room to land on this platform. If it wasn't there, I'd have to go to the wall and I'd probably get ground pounded or whatever. But yeah, so let's look at what it looks like to recover from low once this platform moves out the way in a second. Alright, so right now, I'm gonna downlight stare this bot and it's gonna send her low, and then we're gonna look at what it is to recover from that low angle. Okay, so you can see that it's sent very diagonally down, and he's down 2 jumps, recovery, dodge. Those are the options it has, right? So I'm gonna take it, and just like that, you make it back. Now that wasn't super low. There are times where you have to recover from like down here, and you can see how you want to use those jumps and options, and you want to avoid getting ground pounded on this wall. You want to be able to move in and out the push off. Recovering low is one of like the most common ways you're going to recover. It's even, I feel like personally, it's even more common than recovering from the middle height. But it also really depends on what map you're on, because as you know, even this map has like a half-size wall. A lot of maps don't have that big of a wall, so it doesn't really matter. When they do have a big of a wall, it's even easier to recover low because there's so much space to work with. Sorry, Koji. But yeah, that's just a thing to keep in mind when you're set down like this and how you want to recover. From different angles, you can go different distances and end up on different parts of the wall. 9 times out of 10, when you're recovering low, you will end up on the wall just because you are recovering from a really low point and you can't really make it back to stage with all your jumps. Okay, so lastly, we're going to look at recovering high and what that looks like. Now, recovering high is less of a recovery, and especially since it's so easy to just not die from, because you don't have to use anything to get back to stage really, and you are not really in a bad spot. So if we're going to send that like that, send the bot like that, and switch to it, you're going to see that it's already super high up, and it just uses its jumps and recoveries to come back to the map like this. It also has options to just fast fall and switch its recovery pattern to whatever it wants it to be, which is kind of the sick part about recovering high, because it lets you do anything you want. Now I'm using jumps to get up there, so you're not really getting the full effect of the freedom you have when you're recovering like that. So I'm going to set it again, and this time I'm going to take the high recovery that I have and just turn it into a low one, because I have the freedom to do that, because it sent me high and I still have everything available to me. When it sends you low, you have to use those things to move back up. When it sends you mid, you usually have to use those things to get back to stage. When it sends you high, you can do whatever you want for the most part. Staying up high is not really relatively dangerous. There are some weapons that take advantage of it. For example, if I were to continue coming to the map like this, Koji could easily end sig me if I ended up above him, or contest me with a recovery. But 9 times out of 10, you're really free when you get to recover high. That's why diagonal kill options are usually not liked, because it doesn't kill them, and it also doesn't leave them in a good spot. Like for example, downlight Sarah on sword will send you like here, so that now you can be edge guarded, but downlight recovery on bow sends you up like this, and then you just kind of work your way back to stage. You're not really dead or in danger or anything. And yeah, so that's the 3 types of recoveries. And before we move on from that, I want to remind you that with all 3 of these recoveries, you can remember that you have the freedom to go under the map as long as you get a touch off real fast. I'm going to wall slip here and die, but you get the point. You down on the wall, and you can get your stuff back, and then you can move to the next one. It's really simple stuff. Recovering does not inherently beat edgeguarding, and vice versa. The things you look out for when going for an edgeguard are different, and there's a lot more inputs needed for an edgeguard since the reward is usually much greater. After recovering or making it back to the wall, you usually have to still fight for the stage, so the battle really isn't over when you get back to the map. Each weapon has its own abilities and intricacies when it comes to recovering, whether it's big brain like using your exhausted gun recovery to travel across the map, or even bigger brain like using your hammer recovery to be completely uncontestable. Let's look at some recoveries and turnarounds. Okay, so from right here we're going to look at 2 low recoveries back to back. So the cannon light sends me downward diagonally to the left, and I recover, I'm pretty sure I dodge first actually. Okay, no. I jump first, and then I recovery, and then I have one more jump, and then I have a dodge to get back to the wall. He dares me, but by this time I've already touched the wall, so everything's reset, and it's all good. Now, I can kind of explain why I did it the way I did. I recovered first just so I could go straight up rather than have to do anything else. It really wouldn't have mattered whether I recovered here or jumped, as the entire point was just to avoid the weapon throw that was coming out, and it probably would have been safer to jump. And then I moved back to the stage, and my last option is a dodge, which is risky, but it works out for me. Now, the next recovery is a lot better for me. So I go for that slice again, it doesn't go well for me, but it doesn't really matter that much as I live, and I avoid the weapon throw, recovery early, dodge upwards to touch the wall, and instead of him punishing push off or he's trying to decide whether he's going to punish me for staying on the wall or going off of it, and I ended up just touching it for the one frame I needed and immediately getting off and then switching to the other side. Okay, so I have another clip here for you, and as you can see, Boomy's kind of getting rolled here with everything going on, and he gets recovered right here, and his first decision is to fast fall and forfeit the height to recover low, and this is good for him here because he knows that guns are very hard to contest from above because of the speed of nair and the priority of recovery. So he decides that he's just going to fast fall and recover from low. Sandstorm actually goes off, and Boomy gets a couple hits because of it, because of, like I said, the fast moves and the priority. And as you can see here, he's also able to fight back onto the stage using guns just because of how strong nair is. Okay, so we have another clip of Sandstorm here versus LDZ at LTC7. And this one's moving a little bit faster, but I'll still try to get you the important parts. So, the game's pretty close, and LDZ gets this downward air, which sends Sandstorm pretty far off to the stage. And Sandstorm instant recoveries, but then also decides that he doesn't actually want to recover high against guns, because guns can once again tear him at that level, or just go for the recovery, right? So he forfeits it all and decides that he's going to fast fall all the way down, which, as I mentioned, is the cool thing about recovering high. You can actually just switch it up to whatever you want, and it doesn't cost you anything, because going from low to high costs you jumps, but going from high to low is nothing but a fast fall. So he fast falls all the way down, LDZ's not willing to contest the wall, and he actually makes it through. Now, he does get hit here again, and I'm going to keep this playing because he actually gets sent back to the other side of the map, which you'll see here in a second. Right here. And once again, he has to recovery. So he recovers instant again, and then does the same thing with the fast fall, this time going for a dodge, so he can catch the very bottom of the wall. And LDZ once again does not contest, and that's fine. That's LDZ's decision, and it is a very scary thing to contest. And like I said, edge guarding is a lot harder than recovering because there is just so much room for error and getting turned around on. Alright, we have another Sandstorm clip here, and this one is kind of different because it's more focused on wrench. So, Sandstorm gets the silent recovery, and wrench now has to recover. He down airs, which is a common thing you'll see, that it's kind of like forcing a low recovery while also moving forward with momentum, and people do it all the time. It's kind of dangerous because down air does have recovery frames, so you can get a weapon thrown at you, or someone can run off and go for the edge guard like Sandstorm tries to do here, but it's too late. And so wrench goes downwards, not knowing how many jumps he has. Turns out he's actually down one, so him going downwards leaves him with no jumps when he goes back up, and then he has to dodge to the map, but also dodge to avoid the ground pound, and leaves with him
recovering late also. Now he probably could have lived if he recovered instantly, but he wasn't keeping track of his jumps, and therefore he made a bad input and it cost him the star. Alright, I assume you're tired of hearing the word sandstorm, so let's get rid of him. Here we have Wrench and Ethan's gonna take Wrench off the side and do a bad recovery that leaves him with no jumps but no dodge but having to land right next to Ethan. Ethan punishes it, and now Wrench has to once again recover, okay? So he stares for the momentum forward and then just kind of patiently hovers around this area, which Wrench does a lot, before using the dodge to touch the wall for one frame and then just jump off of it. Ethan doesn't punish it, and he tries to and just misses. So Wrench then reverses the edge guard onto Ethan. Now it's Ethan's turn to recover. Ethan forces his way through with a straightforward recovery, uses his dodge and jumps towards Wrench and just flat out recoveries him with Spear. Now weapons can do this, like Spear, Hammer, weapons with high priority and recoveries that you want to land like that. So it really costs him nothing, and he ends up getting a hit from it, and they both end up back on stage and return to playing the game normally. Okay, so all in all, a bit longer than I would hope it was, but I kind of got out the information I wanted to get out, and I hope you guys actually learned something from this kind of video. Like I said, I'm going to look at other offstage stuff too coming up, and I'm trying to put out a couple guides based on different things leading up to BCX. So if you enjoyed this one, let me know. Let me know if you have any specific guide that you might want, but I do have some planned there coming out soon. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you like, subscribe to the YouTube, follow me on Twitter and Twitch and all that good stuff, and I will see you guys very soon, probably tomorrow or something. So later.